This is the Bat Pod.
Welcome to the Bat Pod. My name is Bill Beer, and we got a special guest tonight, or today. I would say today. It's not tonight.
Yeah.
We got a podcaster that you've probably heard of. His name is Sheehan.
Hey, how are you, everybody? It's a pleasure to be here. I don't get invited out to play very often, so it always is a pretty big deal when I am. I really appreciate you having me on today.
No problem. So when we discussed doing a little podcast together, we were talking about what could we possibly talk about as far as back issues go. And we decided on Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, number 16 through number 20. It's the Venom arc. So what experience did you have with this?
Oh, with the arc overall?
Yes.
It's one of those that I kind of discovered after the fact. The first time I heard of Venom was during the lead up to Nightfall with Bane.
Right.
And then I remember getting like the Nightfall trading cards, and they'd have little bits and blurbs about Venom on there. And then I would have to go back and read these issues. So it's been forever since I read these issues the first time, but it was really cool to get a little bit of to add to the lore, to make sure everything kind of works and fits, and just how one hand sort of like feeds the other with Legends of the Dark Knight, sort of always in my head existing like on the fringes of continuity, actually being brought in and serving a major and just status quo shaking story like Nightfall and the entire mid-90s of the Bat books.
Oh, yeah. And if you're not familiar with Batman and the Legends of the Dark Knight, you should be. But when they started that series, it was said that this wasn't going to be technically in continuity.
Yeah.
It would be stories that were set alone. You didn't need to read anything in advance, and it didn't necessarily tie into anything. This actually ties in because of the Venom drug and Bane and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go ahead and announce the creators for this book real quick. And as I said, it's Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, number 16 through 20. Story is Denny O'Neil. Layouts, Trevor Von Eden. Pencils, Russell Braun. Inks, Jose. Of course, this is how it goes. This is live stream, so podcaster and live stream. Your inks is Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Letters, Willie Schubert. And colors, Steve Olaf. So when this issue starts out, I think it's one of the most important things that happens in this book is Batman is trying to save a young girl. A young girl that is trapped in the sewers, and he needs to have his physical strength to pick up this boulder, this piece of cement, or whatever you want to call it, and he's unable to do that. Which you don't see Batman fail too much. This isn't something we see regularly.
That's true. It's true. And this is like if I had read this right off the bat, like when it was originally produced and published, I think seeing a scene like this would have really informed my opinion that this doesn't quite exist inside continuity, because that isn't something you see. Especially like, post-crisis, Bat God, smartest guy in the room, always the most apt and able, actually failing. Granted, it's early in his career, but even then we didn't see that, and we still don't. So that was quite a powerful scene to show that Batman is human and that he isn't Superman. He can fail, and in fact did in this situation.
Yes, absolutely. And the more powerful, and it's probably just as powerful, but he gets back to the Batcave and he says she dies, and his quote is, "I was too weak to save her." And he's really upset. And you see this one panel with the girl under the water, drowning basically. And throughout this particular issue and some other issues too, you see this panel show up more and more because he reflects back to this. And
Mhm.
this is where he goes and sees the girl's father, who doesn't seem to be bothered that his daughter just died. He's like, well, there
Yeah, I'll
probably
make
worse
another one.
things.
Yeah.
Yes. It was really strange at that point, and I'm like, yeah, he's the villain.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. When you when you act like that, you're a villain. And then he offers Batman a way that he'll be able to be stronger. He will won't have to work out again. And he's like, at first he's like, he denies the whole thing. Of course, that's Venom. And then he goes through some, but he gets shot at a guy, and he shoots through the wall and then breaks through the wall, shooting a machine gun, and he attacks this guy, and then he goes after. And this next sequence of events is pretty cool as far as the story and the art goes, because you see a lot of action when he dives on the moving van. The moving van hits a tree and that sort of thing. I love the panels in here.
Oh
And
yeah.
Trevor Von Eden has done some Batman in the past. He's done Detective. He's done Batman. He did Batman and the Outsiders for a few issues.
Yep.
And of course, Batman the Dark Knight. So I really enjoyed that sequence right there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is the art here is it almost reminds me a little bit of the coloring reminds me a little bit of like the early Valiant stuff, which is one of those things that it's like, to me personally, it's like it's so ugly it's pretty, the
Right.
early Valiant coloring.
Mm-hmm.
But the layouts here are fantastic. Trevor Von Eden, I think a lot of people might consider him sort of an acquired taste. But he's not doing the full pencils here. So this is really just like distilled, storytelling from him. Where
I mean, he's doing the layouts here, and not
sure.
But still, it's basically it's the Keith Giffen way, basically. Do the layouts, and I really enjoyed where you see the action. A lot of things happen, especially in current comics, and I've said this on the show before, that happens in between the panels, and you don't get to see everything. This, you don't miss a beat, especially this particular scene. So I did enjoy that one. But Batman goes out to get these guys that supposedly kidnapped Sissy, the girl, and he loses that fight.
Yeah.
And at that point, he decides, I think I'm going to go to the old doctor, Dr. Porter, and get me some of those pills. Which is, before that happens, he got knocked out a window, and he has this vision. And the vision is of Batman and Alfred, basically. And he had been out.
Yeah, you start seeing like Superman in a vision. Superman shrinks into Sissy, who then transforms into Alfred. It's really a another powerful scene. It's you see him looking up at the guy that in this situation he wishes he could be. He wishes he had the unlimited power of a Superman, and of course doesn't. And then is able to reflect on his failure, and then is able to reflect on a very, very droll Alfred. Alfred is like at his most droll here. Very, very sarcastic. Very, very I don't want to say very, very British, but it just feels very like he's like sort of twisting the needle, twisting the pin into Bruce's side here a little bit. It works really well.
Yeah, it doesn't, he doesn't seem this is an Alfred that Batman just starting out. This is like year
Certainly.
one Alfred. So he's probably going to be a little bit different than the Alfred that we see.
A little
like,
colder, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe he's not quite sure that this is the path that Bruce should take,
Probably.
that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then he heads back to the professor to see, not the professor, the doctor,
The doc.
Dr. Porter, to get some of those pills. So I think he had very good intentions,
Mhm.
but, and it was interesting. He went to confront the same guy, and he took him out, threw him out a window,
Yeah.
this time, and he has this maniacal laugh at the end. So this is doing more to him than just, giving him physical strength. It's
Absolutely, and
messing with his mind a little bit.
oh yeah, it's really affecting his perspective, and I do like this as we see him dealing with physical weakness, but as we move forward here, we actually get to see him deal with a mental weakness and this this acceptance that he is going to need to take these pills in order to get what he needs. I like that there's this weird duality between his his spirit being broken and his strength being broken, and we're bringing them together in him taking these venom pills, and it's only gonna get worse. Spoiler alert, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we'll
It's
get
going to
there.
get worse. It's it's a drug addict, and
Mhm.
this is a different kind because he has strength. But at the beginning of the next part, he isn't even dressing up as Batman anymore.
Nope.
He's in a trench coat and a fedora, and he comes back and he has this manic smile, and he goes back to the Bat Cave and like throws his fedora off, and it's like a completely different person. Has changed his personality and everything.
Yeah, he becomes Mr. Fix-It. He becomes the Gray Hulk here from the
Bas-
Peter David run.
Basically. And Alfred, yeah, he's not super excited.
No.
He's like, why aren't you wearing the costume and that sort of thing, and popping his pills. And then he does put on the bat suit again.
Yeah.
And at this point, he goes to visit the Dr. Porter, and he's introduced to the general, and now we find out, okay, things are starting to add up here. We see it. Batman doesn't see it, but we see that this was starting to be a plan that they came up with.
Yeah, there are definitely machinations at play here, and it's interesting that we do have Batman on these pills here because it has made him lose his sharpness and his his detective edge here, because when you look at Batman, even in his earliest days, he was always kind of thinking a few steps ahead and worrying about every possible every possible move that could be made on the chessboard. He would have some sort of plan in mind for it. Here, right under his nose, we have two guys colluding against him almost in plain sight, and he doesn't see it. He misses it because he's just so focused. He's got tunnel vision on getting these pills and making himself what he thinks he needs to be. So he just misses the plain obvious by just letting his mind go to the addiction.
Yes. Everything is about when's my next fix, basically.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
When's my next fix? And he even, as I said, we see the flashbacks with the little girl when he asked the doctor, do you have any information about the guys that, and he's like, you'll have to figure that on your own. I don't have any information.
And he doesn't seem terribly interested either. So.
No. So yeah, and we find out that the son has been following Batman for whatever reason. The son of the, I guess that's
the general's son. Yeah.
Yes. the general's son, and he comes in more into play later, but we get a scene in this particular issue. It's a pretty powerful scene because Batman takes a refrigerator and throws it through a building, not out the window. He throws it through the building. And that just gives you that tells you right there the power of Venom. I mean, when Batman goes up against Bane and he has that kind of power, they're not on the same power level at all.
Oh, certainly not.
No.
And I do like that the general's son here is portrayed as maybe a little bit naive. He's a little slower and doesn't really grasp the situation himself. So we have Batman being played as a pawn, but him being a pawn is more based upon his addiction. We're going to have this young man, the son, being played as a pawn as well, but it's going to be more to his just mental acuity rather than any sort of vice or addiction. It's like a weird parallel, sorta, that is going to come full circle before the end of the series or the story, the arc. And I really like the way he was introduced here as just a curious kid, for lack of a better term here, who will get all tied up in this before long.
And it's a kid that, he's not like his father.
Oh, certainly not.
Because there's the scene where Batman almost gets shot by a drive-by, and he gives him the heads up right before, and he has a confrontation with Gordon. That this is early Gordon. They're early into the relationship. Batman actually asks him how his wife and kids are. And he really took offense to that. He says, "Why would you ask me that?" And now you wouldn't think anything about it if he did, years later.
Yeah.
But there at the beginning, he's all business, and you can see that he didn't appreciate that. So it was a purely professional relationship. Batman is like a necessary evil to Gordon at this point. He's like, oh, well, he'll do the things that we can't do. I don't like it, but I can accept it. But I ain't his friend. Not yet. Right. So then we basically get to a point where the general and the doctor, their plans are starting to come together. But they need Gordon out of the way.
Yeah.
Gordon out of the way, and they tell Batman that they need him to kill Gordon.
Yeah, or else he won't get any more of his pills.
Yep. He won't get any more of his pills. And to a drug addict, even though he's a drug addict at the moment, he has his vow not to kill.
Yeah.
And you wondered when you read this particular point, how far will he go with this addiction? How far will he, take it? Will he take it to this next level? Batman being Batman, I would think there's no way he's going to kill Gordon, right?
Right.
Yeah, no way.
But we don't know. We don't know if it's going to be a situation wherein he goes fully intending to do it and decides not to at the last minute, or if he has a plan percolating in his head where maybe they'll fake the death, or maybe, as it turns out, he'll maybe just give a warning.
Right, and you just don't know. When we get into part 3, Gordon has quit. Not Gordon. Alfred has quit.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. He can't take it anymore. And they tell him to go kill Gordon. And of course, this is the turning point in the story.
Yeah.
This is the thing that, Batman is not going to kill Gordon. His whatever it is that he has isn't strong enough for the drugs to overtake that. his drug
Yeah.
addiction isn't strong enough to break that. That's
Yeah,
not
his
something that.
constitution is still there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he actually gives Gordon a heads up, and you know, it's still a confrontation there between him and Gordon, but he tells Gordon who he did something to and to go check them out, and then he confronts basically the doctor and the general again, and he wants the pills, but this time instead of he has a minute or two to think about it to take these pills, and he just dumps them out.
Yeah.
Dumps them out.
Yeah, because the doc, like, it's like they're trying to get away, the doctor and the general. So it's like that thing. If you have like a rabid dog following you and you have a piece of meat, you throw it so the dog follows the meat instead of you, and then you hop in the car and get out.
Right.
That's
right.
kind of what they did with the pills. They're like, "Whoop, over there, go get them."
Yeah. Yeah, and he just stares at him for a minute, and then he drops them.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing he does is he calls Alfred, and he says, "I don't have anybody else." Said, "I need you to lock me in the cave for a month."
Detox.
And he's going to do this cold turkey.
Yeah.
And you can see the shame in the one panel where you just see his eyes and you see him tear up.
He's welling up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he didn't have anywhere else to turn.
Now, I do like this as a actually dealing with because like when you have something like drug addiction in a TV show or a comic book, it's usually a part of like one of those very special issues or episodes. So it's like within 22 minutes, they get the addiction, they realize they have an addiction, and they beat the addiction. Here we have an entire chapter in the middle of this story where Batman is off the grid. He's detoxing.
Yeah.
They're actually spending the time to show that this is a process, and this is something that is very, very real in the story. And in order to get through the withdrawals and get through the pangs and just Batman losing, half of his girth in that time, we actually get the appropriate amount of story dedicated to it, which does this a huge service where so many other comics and other media fail to do it this way. I really liked that they did this, and I guess it is Denny O'Neil who is a master at this sort of thing. So this is some fantastic stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And we actually see what happens in the meantime. And they flee Gotham and go to one Santa Presca. And we've heard of that before, I believe.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. We talk about the son.
Yeah, because the son, he's with the doctor and the general for the trip here, and and he's still very, very well-meaning. He's still very, very naive and innocent, and he happens across a local woman, and they have like a weird instant attraction and have a budding friendship, which blossoms into something more. It's very, if not for how it winds up, it'd be very touching.
Oh yes, yes.
But it is very nice to see. Not only the fact that this young, well-meaning kid can find love or a potential partner, but just it further deepens that line between he and his father, where his father is just a jerk, very, very means to an end, where the son, is open to possibilities and opportunities and friendships, and not 1/100th as ruthless as his father.
No, his father is, okay, what can she do for us? How can she be useful to us? There's always an agenda, it seems like. I don't think he even truly cares for his son all that much.
Oh, no, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah. So
I think that's a prerequisite for this partnership. You got to not care about your kid. Between this doctor and the general, don't care about the kid. You get together good.
So they give him some venom, and he's working out and that sort of thing. Seeing like Batman was at the beginning,
Mhm.
and then you clearly see that he has grown like huge muscles.
He's
Now, did
massive.
we see that with Batman at the beginning? Did we see him like physically?
We see him a bit bigger because when he does come out of detox, he's noticeably smaller.
Yeah,
So it wasn't quite as pronounced as
yeah,
the sun growing here because it was just like, boom, he's big. Where Batman, he's always been in great shape. So it might have just been, he's a little bit beefier right now.
yeah, yeah,
But after detox, he's definitely shrunken a bit.
yeah,
But and that's another cool part about this issue is that when we're seeing one go up and one come down, we have it's almost like we're fixing for a fight here. We have the general's son getting big, we got Batman getting small.
yeah. And the lady, he doesn't. He's not the same person, of course, on the Venom, and
No, he lost his love of poetry and appreciating the little things in life.
yeah. So, but they do an experiment here. They have them all wrapped in. I'm not quite sure what they did here. They have them wrapped in like a cloth, almost like a mummy, and it looks like they did surgeries and all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's like they put like a layer of like this weird like Kevlar under his skin to make him like impenetrable, on top of being super strong and super insane. Now, like you break a knife sticking it into his chest because
Yeah.
he's got this weird armor under his skin.
Yeah. And of course, the general, he looks at him and he's like, "My son." And then he shoots
And he shoots him.
I mean, he doesn't know what it's going to do because this is all be science experiment, basically. And yeah, it just broke the skin slightly, but
Yep.
and this is all they're all. Of course, this is the general who's psychotic, wants to make his own personal army type of thing.
Yep, a Venom
they're
soldier. Yeah.
Yep, they're experimenting on his son. They experimented on the Batman, and this is probably the next scene is probably one of my favorites. When Alfred goes and opens the Batcave for the first time in a month, and Batman slowly in the 3 panels comes up the stairs, and you see his. You said he's significantly smaller. You see. I don't know if he's bathed or anything. He had the same outfit on. He didn't shave. He looks like a mountain man.
He's very disheveled, very gaunt.
Yeah.
A little sunken in. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I guess he just hung out in the bat suit the whole time. He had to smell. I think that's why Alfred says there, he goes like, "Oh my."
He needs like a bathtub full of tomato juice or something.
Yeah, something.
Go soak. Yeah.
Something. So he appears to be back to himself. So end of story, that's it, right?
Sure.
Now, and you see the son again, it switches back over to him, and he has his little girlfriend is not she doesn't want to be with him, and he doesn't take that kindly. But instead of Batman making a choice of like killing somebody, this kid's will isn't as strong.
No.
So he takes out the girl and just slaps her against a wall, broken neck.
Oh yeah.
Probably more than that. Yeah.
Sure.
Her skull probably shattered, that sort of thing.
I did like the build to this. Where like you had them getting together over like a love of poetry, which was it's silly, but I mean it's something. And then you'd have like the girl like try to quote poetry to him, and he's like I don't remember that. It doesn't matter. It's stupid anyway. And they only grow more distant from there. And like you said earlier, the general is more about, I don't care that my son likes this girl. How can we use her for our benefit? And this was almost like a test. It's like, well, you loved this girl 5 minutes ago, but if you kill her, we know we broke you. And sure enough, he whaps her against the wall, and she dead.
Yep, and we got no empathy from the general at all.
Nope.
He's like, she deserved to die.
That's what you get for
Good
liking
guys
poetry.
here,
Yeah.
upstanding citizens. So yeah, so we have Batman. You know, he's getting his costume back on there for the first time, and he's leaving the city because he's headed after the doctor and
Our baddies. Yep.
Yep. So I love the last panel where he says, "Let's go to work," and it just
Yep.
has him and his cow and the Sirius face. So
Yeah, you really feel like at this point, he's 100% back.
yeah. And when we go to the next part, we actually see, he's got a couple soldiers that he's just attacking, natives or whatever at Santa Presca, and just seeing they're just psychotic crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like a combat test, and I guess the test went okay. I don't know if that's what they're looking for or not, but they just took care of guys and just the one guy even snaps a grandmother's neck.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's we've gone far beyond psychotic to just a ruthless psychotic, and only seeing red at this point. We're not seeing human beings anymore. We're not seeing sons, daughters, grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts. We're just seeing red, and it's just maybe further evidence that the venom at the dosage that he's taking it is just so deteriorated his mind and has just stripped him of his humanity to the point where he does not see humanity anymore.
And we really don't know if this is the same strain that Bane was taking or not, or a different.
No, we don't know.
Formula. Yeah. This is just like the origin of,
sure.
Venom. So, because Bane never really, he was calculated, and he was very smart, very intelligent. It didn't really take his intelligence away, and he
was on like a steady flow, right? He had the tubes with the steady flow of venom, right. So it might have been regulated in a way, right. where this kid is just getting, he's just popping them.
And we're not talking about the Batman and Robin movie version of Bane.
Never seen it.
Where that it's probably
for the best.
Yeah. Good job there. Yeah, he just grunted.
Okay.
So we see the doctor and the general again. After Batman meets with Gordon and says they've been gone. It's been 6 months. It's been 6 months.
Been a while
since this happened. That's a long time.
No doubt.
That's a long time since Batman has, been addicted. 1 month of that is his recovery, but you have 5 months of him maybe not dressing up as Batman all the time, not being there, and having his own agenda, basically.
Sure.
So that would have to, put a little strain on their relationship, because he doesn't really have a good explanation of where he was or sort of thing. So
no, it's just he was off the grid. He wasn't the guy that we will know him as eventually, or that Gordon will know and appreciate as eventually. It's just it's so good that it's really, really good. I like not to put the cart before the horse here, but like my only complaint about this is that it happened in Legends of the Dark Knight, because it feels like too important a story to be in a side book. Granted, there was a lot of oomph behind Legends of the Dark Knight early on, but it just feels like something that should have been told in Batman or Detective. Though, with the 6 month gap in there, it's really hard to kind of reconcile that, unless it's a callback like Year One was.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it would have made sense because it is connecting to things that happened.
Sure.
In the regular books, and like every book, basically.
It could this could have been Batman Year 4 for all we know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or it could have been year 2.
instead of what we got. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So apparently the doctor, he pops himself some pills too.
Oh yeah.
He's not his I guess he's psychotic for a reason. It doesn't, it's not the strength thing, it does other things, and it's like he's been taking it for a year even before his daughter died. So it's basically taken away his empathy and just it says reality is the human body for specific ends.
Mm-hmm.
I guess take away all the pain. Because why would you what would be the reason that you would take, you can't handle the real world and this, you just want to take the pain away.
Yeah, it offers you an escape. It offers you a perception or a perceived strength, either mentally, physically, or like you said, just dulling the pain, making you feel stronger by, addition by subtraction in a way. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yes.
The multi-layered and multifaceted tricks of the Venom.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, he asks about how the training is going, and there's this creepy scene. I call it a creepy scene because they look over a balcony with the sun. The sun must be setting or whatnot. And all 5 of his guys are standing there in unison. Very creepy, like his own zombified, army.
Secret Service, yeah.
Yeah, that will listen to everything you say. And the general just has this, go to the art again, has this manic smile on his face, and you haven't seen him smile
No.
throughout the whole series, and you see this manic smile, and it's like, this is a bad dude.
Yeah, stuff's coming together, and he's finally at a point where he is somewhat satisfied with the result he's getting.
Yep. So Alfred and Bruce Wayne are chartering a plane. So to see the mad scientist, as Alfred calls them. So interesting. They know the plane is coming. They're bad guys know the plane is coming, and the general breaks out a rocket launcher.
As you do.
Yeah. You must have, other planes that have gone over, and they, they're doing something there. They don't want people spying on
privacy.
Yeah. So actually Bruce Wayne is looking, through a camera and actually sees the rocket launcher, which is kind of interesting. He pushes Alfred out. He must throw a parachute on him, throws him out of the plane. That's pretty quick because they didn't have those, parachutes on. They were all strapped in, and then all of a sudden, he shoots that rocket, and they got parachutes.
Yep, time to go.
Yeah, and they don't actually land in the same spot. Their plane is destroyed. They land different spots. Bruce has like this jumpsuit on. He can change into the bat suit real quick. And that was kind of interesting. And he meets up with some natives who are talking a different language. But they don't really see him because he climbs up in a tree real quick.
Is this before or after he fought the shark?
This is before.
Okay.
Yeah. The natives, kind of give him away because a bird was squawking.
That's right.
And gave his position, and then, he's fighting them, and he heads on. And meanwhile, the other 2 gentlemen, the general and the doctor, are like, we need to send the guys to go take care of them. The 5 super soldiers, I'll call them. And he's trying to find, Batman's trying to locate Alfred at that point. And what's the thing that you could do to Batman that would really hurt him at this point?
Oh,
Of course,
you could hurt Alfred, yeah.
hurt Alfred. Absolutely. And we see that they have him dangling from a helicopter.
As you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Dangling on a rope. And Alfred exclaims, "This is rather civilized, I must say."
He's very droll this time out.
Yeah, not a lot of, it's dry humor, I guess.
Yeah.
Real dry humor. So, yeah. And then Batman, they have Alfred tied up out in the water, 2 posts with his arms, he's holding his arms up there. They're tied up, and he goes out to save him. So he takes off his shirt, and all he has on is his cowl, and heads out to save Alfred. And that's the scene where the sharks.
There we go.
The sharks are coming, and he actually impales the shark, one of the sharks, but there's some natives out there in a boat, and I don't know if these are good guys or not, but he distracts the shark with the natives while he swims in with Alfred to confront the doctor there.
Now, did those natives die, you think?
I'm not sure.
Because that's a little bit of a gray area for Batman, just like dumping a boat full of natives in front of a shark.
Dumping a boat because you couldn't tell if they were with the Doctor and the General's group or whatever,
or just citizens of Santa Prisca.
Yeah,
out for a night fishing trip.
Well, you see in the background when Alfred and Batman are swimming, there's some blood or something. There's a.
Well, I guess Batman didn't technically kill them. The shark did.
Oh. I guess there's a little bucket of blood. That's how they got the sharks there. So.
Oh, okay. There you go. So they were bad guys. They were.
I would assume so. In. Maybe they're the guys that brought the.
Gotcha. But we do get a panel of Batman asking any of them if they have shark repellent, which is an interesting little callback, I guess.
He must not have brought that.
He didn't have it in the belt today.
He didn't have it in the utility belt. Seriously.
He had snake repellent this time. He totally misjudged.
Yes. You go to a jungle, you think snake repellent, but not shark repellent.
Nope.
So, yeah, and we get the end here where basically the son is told to execute Batman. And this is important because they've had a little relationship up to this point. Mm-hmm. Not after he's been given the venom, but to this point, they've had a small relationship. He saved Batman's life, basically, from a drive-by. So we have one more issue here, and we will see because he's told to execute him. We will see if that happens. Mm-hmm. I would assume it doesn't.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoilers. So, yeah. So we get into the next issue. And the General's not too happy. You don't see. Actually, that's what happened when you read an issue and you are at the end. Digital comics.
Aren't they great?
So, yeah, we start this issue and they get the confrontation between the son, who's all venom up,
all jacked up.
Yep, all jacked up, and Batman, with his just his cowl on, no shirt. He looks kind of tough.
Mm-hmm.
And the General's just watching. They're checking it out. And Batman tries to take a different. He tries to tell him, hey, I'm not going to run. I'm right here. I'm not going to run. We don't need to fight. That sort of thing. And he still hits him. The boy still hits him. So, it's a pretty cool looking fight. The panels through there. I like how, you could see exactly what was going on there. Sometimes with the fights, you see a fight, but you don't necessarily see what's going on and what they're doing. But here you can
Sure.
see the punches. You can see, okay, a back swipe, that sort of thing. He punches Batman square in the back, which you could tell hurt because he's like almost stunned.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a dude that big and you just get punched right in the middle of the back. And
Yeah, it ain't gonna feel good. Yeah,
no,
and we are getting like this really cool blow by blow for this here because it's almost like we're getting since we are getting a blow by blow. It's like we can almost feel every single hit, and I think that's very effective for this situation because we have this monster just pounding on Batman, and it's every hit is impactful, and there isn't just some random swipes. These are actual blows being landed that are really putting the man down.
and I seem to remember, you know, these older comics having fight scenes similar to this,
Mhm.
where you see a lot of panels showing the actual fight and not like, a 1 page or 2 page panel that shows like one punch or whatever, and then
Sure.
it quickly is dissolved. I really like how this this goes because there isn't a lot of dialogue throughout. There's some, but there's not a dialogue as they're fighting. It has a Batman's thoughts there, and he's basically the general says to finish him. He's holding Batman up in the air with one hand
Yep.
around his neck, and the doctor actually says, we don't think that he's just we could use him more as a guinea pig, than a corpse, that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Don't waste this potential here. Yeah, don't. The killing Batman will give us like a second of satisfaction, but keeping him around would be a lot more useful
Yeah,
to
we
the
can
cause.
do anything with him.
Yeah, and I do like that. Uh, that
Say that again. I'm sorry, you were breaking up.
where they were going to unmask him, and the
Yes.
doctor's like, nope, nope, don't do that. We'll wait for him to do that. Which I mean, that's kind of tropey when it comes to the more cerebral Bat villains, but I liked it.
Yeah. 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 Did he have a code? Who knows?
Or would that just be the final sign that they broke him? It's like if he hands it over himself,
Right.
it's a done
Yes.
deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they we actually see him, he's back in his full costume, and they're taking him on a, what do you call it, a little tour of the Spanish
Of
fort
the
that they're in.
facilities, yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Um it's got 50 blocks, 50-pound blocks reinforced with steel. The only way in or out is through a door, and he's pointing up. The doctor is just so very arrogant, and
Mhm.
you know and does he offer him pills here?
Yeah. Yeah,
He
there's
offers him pills, and
yeah, because they're gonna flood this like he's in like this it looks like a grain mill almost, just a very
yes,
tall cylindrical building.
yeah, and the only way you can get out through the hole up
Yeah.
there.
And he could possibly tear the door off if he took the pills, but it's just going to be the ultimate test here. It's
Yep.
either you take because this thing is slowly being filled with water, and so it's like either you take the pills, you're able to tear the door off, but then you're back under my control, or you don't take the pills and you
Then you
drown.
die.
Yeah, so it's definitely a very interesting test.
Yep, and of course he's trying to break out,
Mhm.
and the doctor left, a big old jar of pills on this table, and he looks over at it a few times. Well, it shows once in here, but
Hmm.
he looks over at it and like, the pills would definitely make it go faster.
Sure.
But then he goes by doing it by himself. And you see Alfred in a couple scenes on a boat escaping, basically.
Yeah.
But Batman actually, a point that he goes to grab for the pills because he's been there for a while. What, 24 hours?
Within 24 hours, it was going to be full, I believe.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
this
yeah.
was probably a few hours in, just trying to strategize his way out. And I do really like the way they did this because earlier we saw Batman totally disengage his detective part and his strategic part, where he was just brute force. It was just throwing fridges through buildings and throwing dudes through windows. Here we actually had him marry his intellect and his strength together to where they served each other, and he re-engaged with his intellect in order to serve his his body acumen, really, and solve this tricky riddle.
Yes. And one of my favorite panels in all this book comes up when he's, debating whether to take these pills again. And he has a vision of him, foaming at the mouth.
Yep.
He has his cowl off and his hands are all kind of deformed and that sort of thing. That's his imagination of what he became when he was addicted to this, what he looked like. He wasn't the same person. He wasn't the same person physically or mentally, because according to him, his thoughts about this, he's foaming at the mouth. He can't even, has lost the will to think. He has lost the will to do a lot of different things.
Oh yeah, he was just he became an insane monster, and that was the manifestation of that in his mind. It's this is just another powerful scene in a story full of powerful scenes.
Yeah. And Batman's like back to work after that fleet thought of, taking
Relapsing. Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently they have phones on boats because Alfred makes a phone call to Gordon, which is kind of interesting. They're trying to get the military to come to Santa Presca. And Gordon's like, yeah, that would be an act of war. That's not happening.
Can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, So yeah. So the general now has the doctor tied up, and he wants to steal his notes from, this formula, these experiments. And that usually happens when you have two guys that are bad dudes. It doesn't take long for something to happen, and then they're fighting against each other.
Yeah, the schism's always in. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be the one in charge, the one.
Sure.
So yeah, we see the general come after him with a knife. And Batman's, that water is rising. It's rising, and he does use a concrete block. He must be, is he near the top there? Or?
It's like halfway, I think, at this point.
That's what it looks like. And he puts this concrete block on this. He made a table. He turned a table upside down and put like, I don't know what you call it. It must have had linens or something.
Yes, I think there was a bed in there as well.
Yeah. Maybe that's the bed.
It might be the bed.
Yeah, that he turned upside down, and it's on this.
Like a pulley. He devised like some sort of a pulley system, and then used the weight of one of these blocks that he was able to press up onto the bed to kind of counterbalance. So a nice use of his physics plus his physicality, I suppose.
Right. So he was able to escape. I don't know exactly that's the one part in here where I'm a little, you know, fuzzy on, because
Mhm.
he's right there. He rises up basically to where the door is, and he's able to get through the door. I don't know exactly how the door opens, because it looks closed, and then you see it open and Batman dive through. So I'm not 100% sure how.
Yeah, I think it was that pulley he did was what made the door open, but, like, no water came rushing out, which was weird.
No,
And,
no,
there were a couple of guards out there, and they didn't get wet, so that was a little
no,
weird too.
no, that was a little odd. So it was okay. So yeah, Batman takes out those guards, and he's headed to take out our baddies, who
Mhm.
it looks like the doctor has been tortured a little bit. I guess I don't know what he's bleeding from the eyes. I don't know what.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. He had a knife. He came at him with a knife, and I don't know. He's
Yeah, I
bleeding
don't
from the
know,
eyes.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know that he got stabbed in the eyes, but he
His eyes
I
were
don't know.
still, yeah. And then Batman comes crashing through the window. This is a pretty cool scene. All you
Mhm.
see are the whites in Batman's eyes when he comes crashing through the window. Of course, the general comes after Batman and with a knife, and then with a gun later, and he takes him out pretty quickly.
Sure.
So yeah, the son doesn't look like he's reacting. He's
No,
like,
no, he's completely dull. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He gives him orders, and he doesn't really do anything, and just has his eyes closed. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah, it's
think,
like he went past that tipping point where he was like this commandable beast, and now he's just like catatonic almost.
and then the doctor asks him a question. He's like, "Did you take the pills? I need to know. Did you take the pills?" And he's like, "No, I didn't, but you must have. That's the only way that you could escape. You must have taken the pills." So he has the pills. I guess he put them in his utility belt or something to prove that he didn't
Yeah, he
take
just
them.
tosses them over. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, he can't believes he can't believe that he escaped and didn't use the pills.
But then the doctor himself gobbles them up.
Yeah, so we see you know, and my brain went blank. That's how it happens. This
It
is
happens.
podcast, and then you stream. So yeah, um we see the son, the general's son, who wakes up all of a sudden after he
Mhm.
hears this tape, and he starts attacking, his own father there.
Yeah.
So I mean, you knew he wasn't going to be totally, at the end there, that the son
Sure.
was gonna not fool any commands. So Batman stops him there, and the doctor's still popping pills.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and then the son kind of wakes up and is cradling his father there at the end.
Yeah.
Shows some emotion. So it looks like the doctor's headed to jail.
Mhm.
They're leaving Santa Presca. And he's like, I'll win in the end. And he says,
He's
because you
still
follow,
cocky. Yeah. He's
yeah,
still very, very cocky.
yeah. You swallowed the drugs. And yeah, I, eh, I guess he think he's going to get super strength? Is that what he was
You know,
thinking, and be able to escape? And
I don't know what like, it almost feels like maybe Batman messed with the pills a little bit. It's like,
yeah, because nothing really happens.
no, it's almost like he dumped the granules out, and it's like a placebo for him.
Yeah,
And
because he's like, "You'll be sorry," and
Yeah.
then nothing.
Nothing happens. Yeah. He just
Yeah,
goes to jail.
they arrive in Gotham, and he does say that he bent one of the jail bars, but it wasn't enough to.
Not enough. Yeah.
He wasn't smart enough because it takes away your brain power and
Your
that sort of
intellect.
thing, your mental ability for thought
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. So yeah, it ends by Gordon telling him, "You should be happy. You got a victory." And of course, he's not happy because it goes back to the very beginning with the girl
Yeah.
and what had been very traumatic that started this chain of events, that because he didn't have the strength to save this girl, he's not happy about it because somebody was sacrificed that didn't need to be sacrificed. And it basically ends with him staring out a window.
Yeah.
I really did love this arc.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even going back and reading it years later.
No,
That
this
was
was a very, very strong story. That so many of these stories that we get that are like I guess we can call them like the in between panel stories or the in between pages
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
So many of them are innocuous and they don't matter. They don't feel like they matter. And I feel like even if this didn't move on to serve the Bane story, it still would have been a very important chapter in the early Batman's life and
Oh, yeah.
career, where, like some other stories, just maybe not so much. But the fact that this does actually tie into future stories and fuels future stories is it's just awesome. It shows the power of this story in that in a few years we'll have him fighting Bane using the same drug that he himself fell victim to here in this story arc. It's almost poetic, and it makes you wonder if they didn't have it in mind from the start. I don't think they did. I think it was something they lucked into and reflected on, but it works almost too perfectly.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It really shows the addictive nature of Venom, but
Mhm.
the story at its core is a drug addiction, and what it does to somebody, and how their intentions might have been good at the time
Mhm.
for whatever reason. I mean, this case is probably different than a lot of others, but
Sure.
we get to see what it does to somebody. It changes your thought, the way you think about things, and everyday life, because Alfred was his parent, basically there
Yeah.
for him since the tragedy happened, and he just let him go.
He was chased out. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
So a very good story. I did like
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on here.
Oh, no, no, this was awesome. We've been trying to do this for a while, and I just couldn't figure out a story to talk about. There's
Yeah.
just so many
Right.
that
Absolutely.
are just so like seminal in Batman's storied history, and I think this was a heck of a good one to analyze and to parse and to enjoy again.
Yes. Yep. Yep. So I did want to say, you do a podcast there. You'd done it with your co-host Reggie,
Yes.
who Reggie passed away a couple months ago. I just wanted to say uh, how much I enjoyed you guys together. I actually had Reggie on one podcast where we talked
Mhm.
about an old issue of World's Finest,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it was
He loves World's Finest.
oh
Yeah.
yes, it was a delight. He was so enthusiastic, and you could tell his love for comics and
Oh yeah.
life in general. So I'm really sorry that had to happen. So
It's been a difficult few months for sure.
yeah,
Not a day goes by where I'll see something online or in person in real life, and one of the first things to pop in my head is like, I got to tell Reggie about that,
right.
and it's been very difficult. I it's really hard to really talk about.
Yeah.
As you know, podcasting is sort of a new-ish thing. Him and I never met in real life. Everything
Right.
we did was what we did online. So it's
Hmm.
like such a very odd and perhaps unique situation to lose someone you were so close with, and at the same time never really shared a space with. A lot of very very strange and odd feelings, and it hasn't been fun.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's been very unpleasant, but I feel like, I mean, we've got thousands of hours of him and I shooting the breeze
Oh, right.
recorded. So it's like, how many people can say that? You know, like if you lose somebody, but you still have them. You know, I could listen to any episode that we've talked that we had over the past 5 years, and it's like we're there again. So it's, it's bittersweet in that there is this audio library to still listen to and still reflect on and still just have as a piece of him and a piece of our relationship. Of course, it doesn't go anywhere near replacing the man, but how many people lose someone and then have very little as a reminder of them
Right.
besides
Absolutely.
photos. And here it's almost like a living and breathing thing, and I can remember the discussions we had, and I've got all of our scripts and all the little notes we put in the script. So
Hmm.
it sucks, but as with anything, it could have been far worse in that we might have lost everything, and we didn't. He left a legacy. He left a body of work, a body of passion. I miss him every day, but I can always listen to him and I talking about just about anything. And it's that used to be very difficult for me, and now I'm finding comfort in it, which is really what it's all about.
Think about the good things and that sort of thing.
Absolutely, absolutely, and just what as trite as it might sound, it's better to have had something and lost it than to never have had it.
Yeah.
Um, and the partnership I had with him, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if not for him. I wouldn't be doing anything that I'm doing if not for him. I owe a great deal of what I've done online, as few people have heard it, read it, or care about it. It means something to me, and if not for him, I wouldn't have it.
Absolutely. So, so yeah. Yep. I I listen to, I'm a podcaster that listens to a lot of podcasts. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily interact that often. It's
Oh yeah,
like,
me
I listen at work, I listen,
in the
so there's a
car.
lot of stuff that I listen to and people don't even know I'm listening because, there's so much, I have so much different shows that I listen to, but yeah, you guys were great. I do have to
Thank you.
say, unique, one of a kind. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So, but I do really appreciate you coming on today.
Certainly.
So,
No, it means a lot to be invited. It really does.
very cool. Very cool. So, we will get ready and head out of here. So, anything else you want to add before we leave, or
Um, you
any?
can find the archives at chrisandreggie.podbean.com. That's where all the stuff that Reggie and I have done is located. I'm in the process of moving the archives over to chrisisoninfiniteearths.com because it's like we've got like 5 or 6 websites and it's way too much for one guy. So I'm trying to consolidate everything in to make it just a little bit easier to parse and to navigate. And there's more to come. I'm going to be putting out the last few episodes that Reggie and I did together on our formerly exclusive Patreon feed as a wider release over the next few weeks. We're going to have the final episode of the Cosmic Treadmill in a few weeks. And from there, a lot of new stuff, in the works. So if you enjoy my voice for whatever reason, there's more of it coming.
Okay, that's good. I always say the same thing about myself. It's like I don't know if I could listen to myself, that sort of thing. But
It's hard
somebody
sometimes,
must. Somebody must. I know I have at least 3 listeners, so
There you go.
that's good. That's a start, right? So we'll go ahead and get out of here. Until next time, same bat time, same bat channel. We will see you later.
See ya.